In this video today, Leandros asked me on Google Plus about a Weavemaster loom and how it works. So here's a wee tour of the loom itself, okay? So this is a 4-shaft Weavemaster loom, okay? You've got shaft 1, you've got shaft 2, you've got shaft 3, and you've got shaft 4, okay? You have the cloth beam here, and it's secured by a ratchet and pawl, and you have the warp beam here, and it's also secured by a ratchet and pawl. And you'll see that these ratchets and pawls are in opposite directions. So this one resists pull in this direction. As you see, I can crank it up like so, or I can release the pawl and wind it forward. And this one winds the cloth onwards like so. So there's really not that much to it. I should also point out the beater frame. This holds the reeds, and something people often do wrong is they thread this thing upside down. So just remember, when you're threading it up, when you're slaying the reed, after you've threaded your heddles, it should be facing up this way, because if it's the other way around, it'll be too low down. Now, the heddles on this loom are slightly unusual. You usually get two types of heddles. You get string heddles, like this, or you get a kind of soldered metal heddle, which has a sort of rectangular hole at the top to go on a flat metal bar. The Weavemaster loom, on the other hand, has these round metal rods at the top, and the heddle is, you can see that it has a ring at the top, and it goes down to the eye down here, and then another ring at the bottom, and it slots onto these rods at the top. Now, I've never found a Weavemaster loom that really has enough heddles on it. You usually have enough heddles on a Weavemaster loom to do some heavy rug work or something with quite a heavy yarn. I prefer to work with fine yarn, as you can see here, and as a consequence, I've had to make about 400 heddles. I've not actually put them on yet, but I made string heddles like this. This was just a test heddle I used to make sure the jig was the right size. So you might find when you buy one of these things as well that the reed can be slightly rusty. These are often in bad condition because they're quite old, and you might find they've just been left in a damp attic or garage or something for 50 odd years without being touched, and they often need quite a bit of taken care of, you know. I mean, I've not done anything to this one. This one came to me in good nick, you can, but you might not be so lucky. The benefit of these things is they are cheap and they're plentiful. I mean, I don't know if they're found anywhere else, but they're common as muck in Britain. So they're a good loom, you know. They're a really good loom. They're a jack loom, so you start off with a lowered shed, and you use these little handles here to lift it up like that. Very simple. Great. One of the nice things is if you're doing say a twill. Let's see. If you're doing say a twill, it's actually quite a simple to set up to do the twill. You just pass the shuttle in from this side, pull the beater forward, and go click, clack. Pass the shuttle in for this side, pull the beater forward, click, clack, you know. It's quite a smooth motion. On the other hand, say you're doing a plain weave, then it's just a simple case of pass the shuttle forward, pull the beater, click, clack, you know? It's quite simple, you know? It's quite a simple little loom. You will want to get a wee table for it. Now, coffee tables are generally too low, and dinner tables are generally too high. As you can see here, I've set this thing up so that basically it's just sort of here coming to my waist, and you want your arms, when you're using this thing, you want your arms to be sort of level, as if you're using a computer keyboard, you know? So you don't have to move your arms too much when you're passing the shuttle and beating and so forth, because it's a very repetitive motion. You don't want to injure yourself. So it's often best to make a wee table like so. I've just made this out of parts of an old bed frame, you know. It's pretty ugly, you know, but it does the job. This is my woodwork skills at work here, you know. I'm no impressed. Neither should you be. When you're warping the thing up, you want to get a collection of sticks like this. These go and wrap on with the warp beam, and it stops the warp beam from binding into itself. That's probably a topic for warping up's probably a topic for another post, really. But that's it basically. I can't think of much else. I suppose I should say you'll want to have the back bar here, and you want to have the breast beam here, and that makes your warp line there, and the lowered warp is here, and the raised warp is here. There's your shed, and yeah, I'd say that's about it. So I mean, why don't I give you I suppose I could give you a wee tour of the studio. Well, I say studio, it's a spare room really. Right here, so say there's the desk. That's our desk, and that's her side, which is nice and tidy.